Hi, everybody. We're the Skeleton Crew. And today we're going to talk about the fact that Alex didn't mute himself in Discord and I can hear my own voice talking back at me.
What are you talking about?
Thanks, Alex. Anyway, we're actually not going to talk about that because Alex has rectified the situation. We're going to talk about a dinosaur. It's not the only ceratosaur in the game.
No, there's no Allosaurus in the game.
No, there's a few others, but the only
paltry
non-Allosaurus
amount.
ceratosaurs. Yeah. It's a good dinosaur. Yeah. The model is not our favorite, but we'll tell you why, and we'll pass judgment upon it. But before we do that, we got to plug some things. We still have pins available.
Woo!
Presumably, by the time this video comes out, there will still be pins available. These are limited, so we made these pins for Midwest Gaming Classic. We have a few left over. We're not planning to make more of them. So if you want some exclusive Skeleton Crew pins, go to our Etsy page. It's linked in the description, and you can find them there. We've got some killer enamel pins. You may find a surprise in the envelope when you order them, so keep your eyes out for that. And yeah, if you want to support us a little bit and get a cool enamel pin of some animal's skull or fossil silhouette, or a design that Scott spent an incredibly long time on that is currently underperforming dramatically.
Attempting to draw in a car going across the eastern United States and then having Amelia clean up because I couldn't do that.
Yes, we found the limits of your fossil prep ability, and that's you can't do it on the highway at 80 miles an hour.
You know, I bet I could.
Why are we?
I bet I could. I just haven't had to.
Well, let's not test that.
Let's not. I imagine that doing fossil prep in a moving vehicle is like the adage I've heard of: if you have to take a shot from a helicopter, then something's up majorly at some point.
Right. So anyway, that's not the only thing we have to plug. We are all professional paleontologists. That is our primary job. That's our primary career. We think it's really important for science communication to be brought to people directly by specialists, because all too often there's kind of a disconnect between the people who actually do the science and the people who communicate it to broader audiences. But obviously this takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And so if you like what we do and you think what we do is important, we ask that you consider supporting us in one of the ways that we have for you to do so. There's a few ways you could do it. Obviously, the most direct would be contributing to our Patreon. If you do that, there's a ton of benefits that you get, including access to our Discord server, the ability to vote in polls, access to exclusive content, and of course, your name in the credits of all of our videos. We also, of course, would appreciate it if you aren't inclined to do that. We completely understand. Or if you're unable to do that, we especially understand. But we would appreciate it if you leave a comment on this video, drop a like, and just, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Skeleton Crew, because every little thing you do on this video helps us reach new viewers and grow our audience even more. So we appreciate it if you would consider doing one of these things that helps us out. With that, I think we're allowed to introduce ourselves. I'm Dr. James Napoli. I'm a research instructor at the Stony Brook University Renaissance School of Medicine's Department of Anatomical Sciences, where I teach human anatomy to physical therapy students, PA students, and coming up soon, as I've recently learned, to dental students.
Ooh. You have to teach the whole anatomy to dental students, or can you just like stop at a certain point?
We start from the teeth, and when they hit the bottom, we're like, good. No,
You've done
it. No, we do a kind of abridged course where they learn about the organization of the thorax and the abdomen, because the organs there are important for understanding metabolism of things and all that sort of function. They get a very abridged version of limb anatomy because it's just not that relevant. But then we spend more attention and pay more detail to the head and neck.
Well, they often say the limbs are the teeth of the body.
They do.
I say this all the time, and I just get weird looks. So thank you for
underappreciated in our time.
Thank you for making me feel justified there, Alex.
I'm happy to do it.
And who is feeling justified here? But me, Scott Johnston, the vertebrate paleontology fossil preparator and technician at Harvard University's Museum of Comparative Zoology. And I'm going now because Amelia's not here. She is, well, in the middle of nowhere. And by that we mean Montana.
Right. She's on a cursed expedition.
She can see Courage the Cowardly Dog's house from her field site.
Yes, she can.
Well, Wait, do I go next? Yeah, I go next.
You do.
Dalton spoke and I got nervous. Hi, I'm Alex Rubenstahl. I'm a PhD candidate at Yale University, and I was planning on doing a little dance when it got to me and saying nothing. But I've decided against this. The dances are for our patrons.
That's a special tier.
Yes. I'm a PhD candidate at Yale University, and I'm having a swell evening. The last time I looked at the clock on my computer, it was somehow 30 minutes ago.
Doesn't time fly when you're having a good time with your friends?
I'll be specific. It was 29 minutes ago, and my eyes naturally went to the clock.
Oh.
Oh. And my name is Dalton Meyer. And I was trying to come up with a bit or anything to say, and I just couldn't. Like, I was distracted by several things, and then, here we are. It's just one of those days.
All about that.
Exactly.
I feel like
Been treated
I do.
We always do.
Who is that? Is that Limp Bizkit? Or
Yeah,
is
that's
that,
Limp Bizkit, bro.
What a song.
Whoa. All right. No, they kind of do suck, but
Yeah, I'm not gonna be a Limp Bizkit apologist here. No, but
Say
what
what
I am going to be.
Say what you will about Dalton. He's not a middle school boy.
I may not be a Limp Bizkit apologist, but what I am is a PhD candidate at Yale University. And together, it's all about the skeleton crew.
it's us, the skeleton crew. Hey, if you like Limp Bizkit, please don't yell at us in the comments. This is mostly a joke.
We actually have a special.
no.
We should make a channel in the Discord for when people sign up for the Patreon solely to argue with us directly about a stated opinion.
It is the only reason I check that Discord.
Well, actually,
for a little frisson.
Hey, if you're a Limp Bizkit fan, subscribe to our Patreon because you're probably around our age, which means that you have disposable income and you should spend it on us.
I was going to say,
keep your grades up because you're in school.
Obviously on your 8th year of your senior year of high school.
Have fun, editor, deciding which of this you want to keep.
Keep it all.
It's Scott this time.
Oh.
Okay, well, we should talk about Ceratosaurus now.
From the studio that brought you Pro Ceratosaurus. This summer, Ceratosaurus.
Regular Ceratosaurus.
The main event.
They said it couldn't be done.
Oh,
but
here it is.
We have it. Yes.
This will be the aliens to our Pro Ceratosaurus video.
Just cross out the pro. Put a money sign.
Money sign. Let's get this video to 2 million views.
I was sad for a second there. I thought it was going to be one of my favorite skins that was coming out because I really do like that. One of the pattern variations on this kind of has its minimal striping on the body, but it has like red wine war paint on the top of the head, and I really, really like it. It's an interesting thing that I've brought up in a couple of the other dinosaurs, that it seems like there's one skin pattern that's notably different than a lot of the other ones on some of these designs, and the Ceratosaurus definitely has one.
I just had a flashbulb memory. In the first one of these games, back when I was at GW, I would play it sometimes on my PlayStation 4. And my friend, and at the time roommate Chris, if I were to get up to get something or use the restroom, he thought it was very funny to chase around, specifically, he always did to the Ceratosauruses, in the Jeep and sedate them over and over again. And then when I would get back, he says, Alex, you're running a very bad zoo. All of the animals are asleep. And I would say, why did you do this?
I really liked in that game that when you trank them, I think they do it in this game too, like they just collapsed. It was like they were a marionette with their strings cut.
It's so funny.
Well, he was trying mostly to see if he could get my staff killed. And then when in the second game, when it became possible for the theropods to like destroy the Jeeps, I'm like, you can now. And he's like, why are you telling me this? It's been 4 years.
See, my memory of Ceratosaurus in the first Jurassic World evolution game is that there's an early mission, like one of the first missions where it's like creating your first dinosaurs, and you make like Struthiomimus and Triceratops and stuff, and then it's like, oh, now we got to get scary. Let's make a theropod, a meat eater, and it asks you to make a Ceratosaurus. And I was kind of trying to speed through this a bit, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna like do this to the letter of what they're saying, and I'm just gonna make a Ceratosaurus in the same enclosure as everything else. It'll be fine. Like, whatever. Like, if anything, the Ceratosaurus is gonna get rocked by a Triceratops, because of course it would. And then this Ceratosaurus killed everything that breathed in that enclosure. It was like the Triceratops I made must have had pool noodles for horns. It was so funny.
They were big in the first one, right?
They were very big. Yeah,
They were. Yeah. Remember when the game first launched, Ceratosaurus was bigger than Giganotosaurus.
Cool. I forgot about that.
That
was very not so good.
It was so funny. It was funny.
There's good.
And there's not good. Because Ceratosaurus is not a big theropod.
No, it is not.
Like, no, this one's a bit big. But actually quite a bit big, actually. Yeah. This is Ceratosaurus. Yes, specifically, well, I mean, I'm not sure if we can specifically say which of the proposed species this is, but the type species of Ceratosaurus is Ceratosaurus nasicornis, which translates out to the horn lizard with a nose horn.
Indeed.
And then it has two more species, which of course have cooler names, because that's all. The dubious ones always have really awesome names. There's Magnacornis, which, correct me if I'm wrong, just means big horn.
Yeah.
Big horn.
The horn lizard with a big horn.
Horn lizard, big horn.
Hey, young man, are you some kind of paleontologist to figure that out?
Horn lizard, big horn. We're sounding like that gnome Chimpsky talking about an orange.
Horn lizard, big horn.
Horn lizard, big horn.
Gnome Chimpsky?
Who's Gnome Chimpsky?
Wasn't that his name?
Nim Chimpsky.
Nim Chimpsky. Sorry.
Really? Oh, I want the chimp now to name it.
No, that's what
I thought it was like a chimp version of Noah Chomsky.
So all right, it is. So what I'm referencing here is it's the longest sentence that was said by a primate. Let me see.
I like how anytime something like this comes up on the channel, invariably like 2 to 3 of us know it and lose our shit, and the others are just like, what is happening?
Yeah, okay, so longest sentence in 16 words.
You guys.
What's the sentence?
Are you okay?
Scott really likes what this chimp has to say.
He's not going to make it.
Fully crying.
Motherfucker, I want to know.
It's really stupid. Okay, it's give orange me to give me.
No, I'm sorry. I'm stepping in. No.
Give orange me, eat orange me, eat orange.
No, okay. Wait. I can simply get through this.
Scott can't get through the sentence that the chimps.
They have to come up with a new name for the level of dyslexia he has.
It is. Give orange me. Give eat orange. Me eat orange. Give me eat orange. Give me you.
I can't. The energy is wrong. We have to stop.
No, we have to continue. It's just right. You can taste the orange.
I don't know why I want to read it as JFK. Give orange me! Give me eat orange.
This is
Me
like
eat orange.
this is
Give
you know
me eat orange. Give
you know-
me you.
you know how they read the cells within cells poem as the replicant test in the
Yeah.
in the Blade Runner sequel.
Uh-huh.
They read this for like the Scott replicant test. They read "Give Me Orange" by Noam Chomsky, and if you don't, Nim Chimpsky, and if you don't laugh, they know that you've been replaced by a replicant.
Give orange me, give, eat orange me, eat orange, give me, eat orange, give me you.
So
Why don't you give
I
me
also-
3 eat oranges?
I like that it
A
ends with
chimpanzee
"Give me
eats a
you"
forest.
because
Oh.
chimpanzees have a bloodlust and they want to eat the instructor.
oh my god, that's the hardest I've laughed in so long.
Hey, viewers, when we went to the zoo in North Carolina, James demanded that we walk briskly through the chimpanzee enclosure because I think there was genuine fear in his heart.
I hate them.
I hate every.
Chimpy.
Sorry,
It's okay.
I respect
I
genuine fear.
really-
By the way,
I'm glad because that's what I feel.
And the other proposed species
Well,
is
anyway.
Dentosilcatus, which is in reference to its teeth.
It's got sulci on them.
It
There's
got
a sulcus
sulci
its
on those
dentist.
Damn it!
damn it, this is a disaster.
No,
This
and I
is,
think I will say there's a couple features of this that lead me to think species, validity of the various species aside, that this is probably Magnicornis more than anything.
What gives
Or
you that
if you
impression?
made me say it, it would be that it's Magnicornis. One is that its cornice is very magni. It's got
That was my
a
first thought.
it's got a huge nasal horn. And the second is the shape of the maxilla. Like this is pretty clearly, and I'll say this to the game's credit, they've improved the T-Rexification of its head.
Oh my god, so
from
much.
the movie. Like it's longer than it is in the movie. It looks more like a Ceratosaurus, compared to where it's just a red T-Rex with horns in Jurassic
Yeah.
Park 3. But I think that relict, the relict being a T-Rex, has given its maxilla this kind of swooping shape to it,
Yeah.
and that is reflected more in the specimen assigned to Magnicornis, as well as to Dentosilcatus, than it is to the Nasocornis holotype. Although there might be some ontogeny at play there, it's hard to say, and some distortion too. I haven't gotten to have a tremendously great view of the Nasocornis skull, which I know is distorted. So
It's not even like in the JP3 version. I think unironically, I think all 15 or 20 seconds that it's on screen, it's not even one of my biggest complaints with this. It's not even a T-Rex with horns. It's a T-Rex with horn.
yeah, really.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I've never really understood with depictions of Ceratosaurus is how many of them want to insist that this animal only has one horn for some reason. Like
Maybe they think 2 sounds unbelievable. Excessive
3.
even. 3?
Well,
Like-
Sorry. Who the hell knows?
who
All
could
right.
even do 3? That's
Like-
Right.
it boggles my mind because this, like, it's so clearly, like, are the ones over its eyes a little bit smaller? Yeah, but they're still really, really pronounced. And, like, it kind of, like, I've never understood why, like, something as modern as a depiction in, like, Jurassic Park 3 would basically have a slightly posture updated version of the Ceratosaurus that we see in 1 million years BC fighting a Triceratops. Like,
Do you think it was
it's
a cool
bonkers.
callback? Or unintentionally
no, because
stupid?
that movie's unintelligent.
JP3?
The movie?
You the action adventure film from 2001?
directed by Joe Johnson.
that runs
No, I would've
barely
heard of
over an
this.
hour?
It's a tight 90.
It's a short film. In this house, Joe Johnston is a hero. End of story.
Yeah, it's audience. I'll be 100% frank. A lot of my critique of Ceratosaurus in this is probably mostly going to be I really hate that movie design. This is way better, and Ceratosaurus is one of my favorite dinosaurs. I love theropods with cool head ornamentation. There's a couple of them coming up that I'm really looking forward to us covering. And Ceratosaurus has always been like pretty close to the top of that. I think its head's shaped really neat. I really like its horns. It has huge teeth, or is that just that's not an artifact of slippage?
No, that's real.
Is it?
It's
That's
a
real?
little bit,
Okay.
but not as much.
No,
as you
they're
might
big.
think.
But like they really have kind of fixed they've put lipstick on a pig on this. I'm still not a real big fan of this overall design. It's still obviously recognizably Ceratosaurus because kind of what else would it be? But I've seen some depictions of Ceratosaurus that are like I look at them and I'm like, this is one of the most beautiful dinosaurs that ever lived, and I'm so sad that I never got to see one.
It's a handsome animal.
It
Yeah.
really is.
It's got a lot going on for it that I like.
Yeah, there's
In the real world, I should say.
one of the ones that specifically comes to mind is that there's a Wayne Barlow painting, and like, yeah, it's Wayne Barlow, so it's already like phenomenal.
Good.
But it's like two Ceratosaurus that are like, after gorging themselves on a carcass, I think they're laying down by like the carcass of a sauropod
Oh,
or
I
something.
love
and
this
they're
piece.
jet black with bright electric blue crests, and they're
Yeah.
so pretty.
Here,
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
I'm putting this in our chat that we use to keep these images.
Yeah,
Yeah, this art is not only tremendous, but having now spent like 2 or 3 hours today, I'm the world leading expert in Ceratosaurus. I've read 3 papers about it for 3 hours. But having spent a lot of time looking at its skull today, this is like so good.
yeah, or like, I hate to always be the one that's comparing like Jurassic World to, Jurassic World Evolution to Prehistoric Kingdom, but like the renders, like the early test renders of like their Ceratosaurus models, bangers, so good, so pretty. And unfortunately, I think that this was
yeah.
right.
That's pretty good.
Stunning. And this was something that I brought up last time. Well, not last time. It was last time we recorded, and this wasn't on camera, so I'll say it to you guys. Is the Jurassic World, the first Jurassic World Evolution did have a really good skin for Ceratosaurus that I really liked, that I'm very sad didn't make the transition to this game, which was the one that's mostly a like dark gray black body with a deep red head. Again, one skin that's very distinctly different than all the rest, and I really like that because it's just highlighting that display area. Yeah,
I like
kinda
when they
miss
do
it.
that for these designs.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of the designs, especially in Jurassic World Evolution 2, the only real criticism I would have for them is that a lot of the time they kind of seem to ignore what the display areas are.
for
Yeah.
some things,
Like,
yes.
or-
For some things,
Yeah.
no. The
Well, right,
Lambeosaurians
no,
are pretty good, but
It's not universal, but occasionally it just feels like they kind of ignore, or like they miss opportunities for sensible places to put a splash of color and then kind of just add it randomly.
Well, that's
Yeah.
I think one of my things. I mean, is that with this design, is it seems like there may have been some misinterpretation, a bit of the horn, whereas like this just doesn't read to me as keratin. Like I know it
it looks bone.
it just looks
Yeah.
like bone to me. And then that combined with the fact that that the eye horns aren't, they're there but they aren't highlighted really in any capacity is not what I would do.
Yeah.
Me neither.
They're
No.
just kind of raised.
It's a shame that Ceratosaurus does not get more accurately depicted. Like that Wayne Barlow piece is beautiful. I think I said this in the Dilophosaurus video. Like, it feels like a dinosaur that is basically tailor-made for pop media, but is rounded down to look like other dinosaurs so much
Yeah.
that it doesn't ever actually shine.
Yeah.
Well, us Ceratosaur fans are gonna be eating good in the not too distant future, because there's that what is
right.
it? Dinosaur Empire
Dinosaur
Yeah.
Empire, yeah.
that features wonderful designs of three brother Ceratosaurus.
Which are the
That-
protagonists, I believe, right?
Yeah, they're the protagonists, and they do a really good job of differentiating them. That they all have slightly different, like, horn shapes. One of them, I think, has some sort of pathology on it. That, like, they're all very distinctive, but in a believable animal way. That, like, you could imagine seeing these guys walking through the Morrison, and they would
Right.
all look like very understandable animals, or find a fossil that had, like, oh, this one had a broken and healed hornlet over the eye. Like, oh, that makes
Right.
sense. That, like, that would happen. But
Well, if I know anything
yeah,
about paleo projects, we might see that 33% chance in 18 years.
I'm also kind of looking forward to, like, from what I've heard about that, like, Stegosaurus is going to be like an absolute monster of an animal in that, which
that'd be fun
I'm
to see.
really looking forward to.
We like that.
The
Yeah.
classic pairing of Ceratosaurus and Stegosaurus, as seen in the dinosaurs! Exclamation point animation.
Oh yeah. A great
Oh, yeah.
and as seen in the Smithsonian now.
Yeah, man, it really sucks that, like, so many depictions of Ceratosaurus are just of it getting it
It's getting
rocked.
bodied.
Pretty
Yeah,
funny.
Why,
I like it.
why have we decided that it sucks?
Because it's smaller than Allosaurus.
Because it's smaller than
Yeah.
Allosaurus,
Oh, right. I forgot that it was smaller than Allosaurus.
and more primitive, probably, air quotes.
And we all have, the brains of an infant.
And by
Right.
more primitive, probably, I don't mean, like, its taxonomic placement is in question. I mean that it, like, that's a probable reason that people are drawing it getting floored.
Right. Well, I think it also might be, and this could actually dovetail into something that people talk about with this animal quite a lot. I think it might also be because it's so much less common that it's assumed
Yeah.
that they were, like, literally outcompeted.
I've actually heard that.
That was in
Right.
wasn't that in Jurassic Fight Club?
It was.
Oh,
yes,
it
it was
was.
a Jurassic Fight Club. Also, banger design. Banger design.
It looks great there.
Its inclusion in Jurassic Fight Club should indicate its value as an idea.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Jurassic Fight Club is not the most factual documentary.
Sorry, I keep hearing the Brachiosaurus in the distance.
Oh, that's what it was.
I keep thinking it's my cat.
I thought there was a whale around. I was like, where the are these whale sounds coming from? Because I forgot
I
they
just
were
heard
here.
this, like, high pitched, and I was like, "What did they
big-
do?"
Well, so Ceratosaurus being kind of rare in the Morrison formation does seem a little weird at face value
Yes.
because there are so many Allosaurus specimens.
Yeah.
There are just so many of them.
You should see the Cleveland Lloyd dinosaur, Corey. It is
Allosaurus.
it is
as far as the eye
oops
can
all
see.
Allosaurus. It's
Right.
like genuine.
And yet Ceratosaurus is quite rare. There are how many, like, body fossils
Like
of
three,
Ceratosaurus? Like
three, maybe
three,
four.
really?
I think 4 decently complete specimens. There's the
Which ones
three,
are-
the 3 potential holotypes. There's the Smithsonian one that's the holotype of Nasocornus. There's the Fruta one, which is Magnacornus. Cleveland Lloyd, which is Denticylcatus. And then there's also the bone
The
cabin
Portugal
quarry
one.
one, which is like a juvenile.
Oh,
that
yes.
the only sign, like, I found pictures of it, and I know there's an SVP abstract, but I don't know if that paper ever came out. I just haven't found it, but it doesn't
No,
necessarily.
I don't believe it ever has. That one's held at the Museum of Ancient Life in Utah, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, because I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
it's a beautiful fossil. Yeah.
Really? Oh man. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it
I did, like, half
needs to
mention
be
there
described.
the Portugal one, but that isn't like a stunning fossil.
No, there's like
Unfortunately.
some limb bones.
It's limb bones, yeah.
And there is at least one in I don't know how much of it there is. But yeah, No, yeah, there's one. It's listed on Wikipedia. There's one at BYU.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see that.
Yeah,
Really?
I have not.
How come? Do you know how complete that is?
It's most of a
It's-
skull, I think, but it's pretty
Okay.
big.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not I think it's articulated in sections.
Yeah.
Like some chunks are missing.
Okay, cool.
If I recall.
Yeah, I'm not aware. I've not seen or heard anything about that one. I think it's safe to say that there's less than 10, like, Ceratosaurus of any, like, kind of notable completeness
Right.
compared to all
To
the
so
Allosaurus.
many Allosaurus.
Yeah, it's probably less than 6 of notable completeness, and
Yeah.
less than 10 of.
I mean,
Any
there's a lot of
completeness
there's,
at all.
there's a
Completeness,
very
yeah.
I'm sure there's a fair number of referred scraps and teeth and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so what I'm saying is, Allosaurus, hundreds of individuals probably,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, about 100 minimum.
Yeah.
It's weird given the amount of sampling that you'd have the kind of dominance of one of those species. It's not unheard of, but I think this is the most dramatic place. Like, there's coexistence of Gorgosaurus and Daspletosaurus in Dinosaur Park.
Yeah, CLDQ is weird.
Right, but what I was going to say is, like, while Gorgosaurus is more common, like, Daspletosaurus isn't almost absent.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
one of them is just less commonly found. And so this has presumably been the cause of a lot of interest in the paleoecology of Ceratosaurus. And for that, I will leave it to you, gentlemen, who actually read through these papers, which I didn't have time to do before the episode, because I want to know what they actually say.
So, because of the rarity of Ceratosaurus and the abundance of Allosaurus, I've definitely heard before that these guys were undergoing some pretty major niche partitioning here.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Sorry for the gag.
Shut up
honestly,
about the niche partitioning.
a little bit of a more visceral reaction than I expected. I thought I genuinely offended you for a short second.
I was just getting into the role.
Yeah, no. Namely, I have heard several references to Ceratosaurus actually being, if not semi-aquatic, some sort of near shore forager, like is proposed for a near shorager, if you will, like is proposed for other more problematic dinosaur groups,
What are you talking about?
but definitely not to the level of Spinosaurids.
No.
But like preying on lungfish and crocodilians and other fish and stuff like that. Where does this come from? And to make a pun, does it hold water?
Well,
Hey,
so
Mr. Jokes.
the idea that the semi-aquaticness and like the fish eating, I think, comes from several observations that, while all individually true, I would not say paints the picture of this being the foregone conclusion of that of what's happening, but that Ceratosaurus has different teeth than other large theropods. It's one of these larger theropods in the Morrison Formation. It's coexisting with Allosaurus and Torvosaurus, presumably, to some extent. So if they aren't directly competing with one another, which this foregoes, this is just assuming that they're not. All right, Ceratosaurus is eating something different. It looks like its skull might not be constructed to have as powerful a bite as Allosaurus and Torvosaurus. It's smaller than them. It's got these kind of weird blade-like teeth that seem to maybe be weaker. And then, as a non-tetanurine theropod, its tail is less stiff. And its tail has been remarked by some, not myself, to be clear, to have some superficial similarities in the construction of its vertebrae to those of the crocodilians.
Let him be clear.
And it's got a slightly longer body than Tetner and theropods, which are starting to shorten the torso into a more bird-like condition.
That is another thing that this model kind of doesn't get. It doesn't get how long in the torso these guys were.
No.
This is
And
what
so
we call-
so the idea is that, they're longer, they've got a wigglier tail, maybe they'd be better at swimming, and they've got different teeth, so maybe they're eating things in and around the water. And then there is, looking at the distribution of shed teeth at different sites, apparently there are more Ceratosaurus shed teeth are more common in wetter localities, so things that are more near bodies of water, than they are at things that aren't. Now, I would be, without knowing the details of everything in those observations, my hackles are raised a tad at just how well sampled various environments across the Morrison are to get like a broad sweeping we confidently say that across the entire extent of the Morrison that ceratosaur teeth are always found in greater abundance in these wet habitats compared to in these drier habitats. And even if that was the case, I'd be reticent to draw strong conclusions from it. But that's where that comes from. That's where this idea comes from.
Okay.
Dalton's being very measured.
That makes sense.
I will not be.
Oh no, he's on
Almost everything he described, with the exception of the teeth near the water, which, yeah, sure, who knows, is just it's just pleomorphic.
Yeah.
It's just that all early theropods have long wiggly tails and long torsos.
Yeah.
That is the primitive condition for theropods. It's Coelophysis was around. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to get mad. It's fine.
Well, I mean,
Someone take over, because there's not a way I can do this without bursting with rage.
Presage this. I will just say this: Ceratosaurus, while a large theropod, is a small large theropod.
Yeah.
And the direct abundance, the abundance of smaller theropod fossils from the Morrison, is small. Shockingly, we know of many things like
Alex, do you have something
Martiosaurus,
to say on
things
that?
like Stoxosaurus, things like Tannicalagrius, are known from very few specimens. Ceratosaurus known from very few specimens. Also Torvosaurus, not known from a tremendous amount of specimens. It's really, I think, kind of there's a weird thing happening where it's we've got so much Allosaurus, and to some extent, there's probably some truth that at least in the areas where fossils were being created in the Morrison Formation, where things were being preserved, locally in those areas at least, there might have been more Allosaurus than other things. Whether that holds true to the whole area, it could maybe to some extent. I would bet, if I were a betting man, that if you were to take the actual true population of all the theropods in the Morrison Formation, not counting the supremely tiny ones, that Allosaurus might be the most abundant of them. I don't know if that would be orders of magnitude more abundant than the others. It might eke out, and it's if you're going to encounter one on a random day, maybe Allosaurus is the most likely. But I wouldn't say that it's that. I wouldn't say that that's the case, that Allosaurus is given to be the most abundant theropod. But B, I also wouldn't then take that phenomenon to be every other theropod in the Morrison Formation was extremely rare.
Well, right. There is. I mean, this is a thing that we do a lot in paleo, and I think
Stop doing it.
Well, we have to stop. But we have. It's time to stop.
It's
It's time to stop.
The fossil record is not. It's a record of where things died.
Right.
It is not. You are not looking at an ecosystem. You are looking at the ruins of one after some stuff died.
And there are things I believe for ecosystem structure. I believe microfossil, tooth isotope stuff.
Sure.
There's going to be an
data.
ecological signal there, right? But one thing we do a lot is we say we don't find a lot of fossils of this. The entire clade must have been very rare. And I've heard this about troodontids. They must have been incredibly rare animals. I'm if they were then they did not. How could they have possibly lasted like 150 million years?
Mhm.
Or not 150 million, but damn near 100 million years from their origin
Right.
to their extinction.
Yeah.
If they were never abundant, if there were just never any of them, or Pachycephalosaurus,
Stegosaurus.
Ankylosaurus, even Stegosaurus. You have to think about the biases in terms of where you are finding fossils, and I tend to believe like the kind of broad catchment area of like teeth in a river system, and that sort of microfossil stuff you can get a little bit more of like some measure of abundance and some measure of diet from tooth isotope stuff, but like we simply can't know that Ceratosaurus was uncommon in North America because it's uncommon in the remains of the Morrison formation.
It's a mix up of signal and noise.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's. I mean, the Morrison is also enormous. Like in span of time
And space, especially
in space. Like the stratigraphy between quarries is not like nailed down in a lot of places. There is contention. Not for all of them, but like so Como Bluff has 14 quarries that fossils come out of. Many of which are at different heights in the section. And there's really not a lot of consensus on how old almost any of them are, except for Quarry 9 and Quarry 13. So like, I don't know, maybe. There sure are a lot of theropod remains that also, I mean, I could be convinced that a lot of the Allosaurus stuff is also probably more than two species.
It's been suggested a lot. I think people are working on that to try to sort it out. It seems very possible.
Is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not like at Cleveland Lloyd, but I mean like across like the whole. We've talked about this in our sauropod videos, where sometimes you might hear people say, how could there possibly be so many sauropods in the Morrison formation? And I think we can apply this thinking to our theropods, which is...
Ooh, sorry, real quick. Dalton, that green one there, that's the one with the like face thing. Yeah, go on, please.
Hold on, now I want to look at the green one. Ooh. Oh,
see,
that's nice.
it's got this like
that.
red wine stain on the face that
I like how big its nose is.
It looks like Khrushchev. Or no, Gorbachev. We can cut that.
No, that's fine. I was just thinking of the Naked Gun bit where he rubs off his birthmark and says, I knew it was fake.
Yeah,
Great
Gorbachev's gonna leave us a nasty comment.
Gorbachev is dead. Right?
Yeah, that's the joke.
I did get it.
Is he?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, Alex, continue with what
Morrison
you were trying to
formation
say.
is very big. It is also it's like 8 or 9 million years that we know that we have deposits of the formation from. I want you, dear viewer, think about the continental United States of America to 9 million years ago. There were like 13 different successions of weird pronghorns and cats that we know about. There is so much diversity there.
Yes. Do not.
We have no idea what these ecosystems look like.
Do not be fooled by the depauperate state of Earth as it is today, because it has been kind of ruined.
Yeah.
It won't always be ruined, but right now, it's like a store at a going out of business sale.
The
biosphere is closing.
For 9 million years, if we are reading it at face value, there are maybe 3 small theropod species in the Morrison. 4 that are described. Silurus, Ornitholestes, Tanicalagrius, Hesperornithoides. And then there's some slightly bigger ones, things like Martiosaurus and Stocosaurus. Stocosaurus is kind of in between. Also, you know what is kind of bothered me that no one ever does papers about? It's all like, Ceratosaurus competing with Allosaurus. It's way closer in size to Martiosaurus. Why does no one care about it competing with Martiosaurus? No one cares about Martiosaurus.
Well, because there's only one of those, so that wasn't competing with it.
Oh, right,
It was out
yes.
competing Martiosaurus.
That was just the one.
There was just
Like-
the one.
So there are more than I'm gonna let you in on a little secret right now. There are more than 3 species of small theropods at the Morrison, or 5 species of small theropods at the Morrison formation. This is not a leak. Some of them are just not named, but in the literature. There's like a femur that Rebecca Hunt Foster described, like in 2006 from New Mexico. That's not anything else. There is this little thing that was described in 97 by Pete Makovicki. These don't have names. They're not anything else. And maybe there's even more. Wink, wink.
Wink wonk.
And even then, we're
Nudge,
not even
nudge, if
close
you
to
will.
sampling like what was the actual small theropod diversity in these sites. I'm begging you, to the authors of the people who are like, how could an ecosystem have all those allosaurs? They must be super scavengers. There's a lot of diversity here. Dalton earlier was correct in saying that at least where fossils were being made and things were dying, Allosaurus appears to be pretty common. This is, of course, the holes in the ground that we dig up of the, again, continental United States. A big place from Canada to New Mexico, and also wide. So, locally, sure. What patterns can we draw beyond that? I would argue nothing reliable. So, the Allosaurus, next time you may be reading a paper about Allosaurus being a super scavenger because it's all there is in the ecosystem. Just think to yourself, it's like, how do we know that?
You're using the wrong term. It was apex scavenger.
Oh, I'm sorry, an apex scavenger. Just think for a second. If you're asking a question and someone says at any point, it's like, well, have you considered taphonomy? Including in your paper, it's like, there may be taphonomic biases in the fossil record, and then or just mentioning it. You don't do that. You need to think about it before you do this. If you have a question like that, and you don't do a taphonomy part where at least you even attempt to account for it, you're making things up.
If you don't understand intuitively, which you may not, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way, because many of our viewers are younger. And
No, I'm not yelling at our viewers.
No, I just wanted to be clear. I'm not yelling at our viewers either. Right? You may not intuitively get that the local scale composition of an ecosystem will differ, it almost necessarily will differ from the broader scale ecosystem that we may seek to understand. And this is down to very local levels. I live on Long Island, an ecosystem beset by Italian Americans and white-tailed deer.
Beset is under siege, a politician might say.
Yes.
That was very good.
Thank you. The white-tailed deer problem here is severe enough that apparently local town governments have contemplated bringing in ex-US Special Forces snipers to start killing them with night vision goggles in the middle of the night and silenced weapons so that nobody will hear these white-tailed deer death squads roaming through suburbia, setting up tree stands. Apparently setting up tree stands during the day and just sitting motionless in sniper nests, waiting for deer to pass nearby. There's a lot of deer. I live in
Lord.
I know. Well, this was shot down because apparently it's against the law.
It's just against the law.
It's against the law. You can't, and it's something about you can't shoot a rifle within a suburban development, even if it's at a deer. Apparently, bow hunting on your own property is legal, though. So if the deer is in your yard, you can shoot it with a bow. I think. I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
You heard it here first. If
Stop. We're not making that joke.
DNR arrests you.
So, what I'm bringing up by this, I live in a fairly small neighborhood that's kind of surrounded on water or by water on multiple sides, and so
It's very pretty.
It's very pretty. Thank you. Yes. This is not a flex. This is to say, you are able to kind of bound the contents of the neighborhood very well. Last summer, I drove around with my mom at one point while I was visiting home. This is before I'd moved back to the area. And we just were like, let's count the number of white-tailed deer we see on one car ride by the road. So this took about 15 minutes. We drove down all the streets in the neighborhood. And we kind of knew which deer we had seen and which we hadn't. It's possible we double counted one or two, but we saw all the same ones going back and forth, so I don't think we did. Mm-hmm. I don't think they were running back and forth to be counted multiple times. We counted, I think, 23 white-tailed deer in a tiny in my neighborhood. After you come around the bay, to all my friends who've been around here, it's maybe I mean, maybe a square mile. They're kind of the only significant vertebrates around. Like, there are raccoons, there are some foxes. The large thing other than humans are white-tailed deer. And so say that the humans don't fall for this, but you get like some pit and all of the white-tailed deer fall into it and die. Does that mean that on a global continental level that the fauna of North America is mostly white-tailed deer? Obviously not.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, there are a lot of white-tailed deer, to be clear. They're very popular. They're very populous, rather. But
Also because all the habitats that they usually inhabit are like atomized. There are no large predators.
right.
It's not a natural distribution, really.
No, it's not. And they also almost went extinct. They were kind of the buckskin trade early on had decimated their numbers, and they came back. But what I'm trying to say here is the very local signal you might get if you sampled my area would tell you white-tailed deer are far and away the most abundant like animal in North America. No, they're not. They're not. It's probably a mouse or a squirrel or a rabbit species. That's the most abundant thing in North America.
Yep.
Presumably. And, historically, bison were probably more populous than white-tailed deer, given the size of their population in the Great Plains. This is what I mean. A local signal that's drawn from a very small area will necessarily differ from the broader signal. And so if you want to understand, like, eastern woodlands biome in North America, you need to look at more spots than just, like, one suburban neighborhood where there's a lot of deer.
What if I don't want to?
By the way, I am pretty sure that, and my friends in my mammalogy department will correct me if I'm wrong on this. I'm pretty sure the most abundant mammal in North America is Parameciscus, the deer mouse.
That wouldn't surprise me.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we have so many of those here.
Are they cutie patooties though?
Yeah,
Almost
they're pretty cute. They're kind of like Mark 1 Mod 0 mouse.
Are they the ones that carry hantavirus?
Ooh, I don't know.
Ooh, that's less.
Yeah, they are. Deer
Yippee!
mice. Or no,
They
that's
are very-
white-footed mice.
No, they're very cute though. I've just googled deer mouse and what a cutie! Holy moly!
Yeah,
And
they're one of our specialties here at the MCZ.
Ooh, evolution was cooking
tons
with them. Oh my god,
yeah, they're real cute.
big old ears, incredible. I like his
Very
little
big
fingers
ears.
too.
This is, I think, and also while we're kind of talking in this vein, it's worth bringing up. Not only when we're talking about why is Ceratosaurus so apparently unabundant? Like these are questions that, while you might ask why are they unabundant in these local sites, we shouldn't assume they aren't abundant in the whole ecosystem. It's also, I think, important to say, like, it's worthwhile to ask, oh, this is the anatomy that Ceratosaurus has. What clues can we get to what kind of lifestyle it was leading? Right? It's worthwhile to say, this thing is constructed in an interesting way. What does this mean for how it functioned as an animal?
Yeah.
I think that is that route of inquiry will be more fruitful and supported by evidence than saying, oh, how did it live with Allosaurus at the same time? Like, oh, all of these adaptations that Ceratosaurus has are clearly to avoid competition with Allosaurus. Like, we simply don't know enough about these ecosystems, I think, to be asking kind of meta, not even trophic questions, but like meta-trophic questions like those.
Yes.
Compared to, we can make inferences about how individual species are functioning based off of their anatomy. That's something we can and should try to do with the anatomy that we can observe. But I think making that next leap to, oh, this is how these predators could coexist is a leap too far, because there are any number of other non-preservable behavioral things, range overlapping things, tons of possibilities that we just don't have the information to explore.
Right. And I mean, I also think it's worth saying these are not patterns that demand explanation.
No.
Because they actually don't violate what our expectations should be.
Mhm.
I think this is an area where I'm going to very much going to very much miss Wildlife Wire's presence on our channel while Dom's away, because I think it's important for paleontologists to talk to people who study modern ecosystems and animal populations.
Please.
If you really want to do this kind of stuff, because
Paleontologists go outside challenge. Let's
well,
go.
right. Like, go to any ecosystem. Especially in the past, like, we know enough about the recent fossil record, we can understand to some degree the historical distributions of these animals, right? Large predators tend to coexist with each other. They may not do so perfectly, and they may not do so without conflict, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's possible they're fighting each other. It's possible that there's kind of shifting territorial lines where, you know, they tend to not inhabit the exact same spot, but will, on the broader landscape level, both be present in an area. What?
What are you laughing at?
Sorry, no, I just when you said they might not occupy the exact same spot, I had a vivid mental image of like 2 3D models of like a lion and a leopard just like Z fighting into each other in like video game textures and like having the source engine like just constant hitting noise of just like they can't occupy the exact same base and they're just like flopping around the savannah. Please continue. My mind's stupid sometimes.
No, it's not,
okay.
Scott. That's a beautiful. You had a beautiful thought and you shared it with us.
It was beautiful. But right, they may not inhabit the exact same spot, but they'll both be present on the landscape, right? This is our expectation.
Hey, did you
This
know
is the-
lions and tigers actually still have overlapping range? What?
They still do, and they used to have a lot more. And, you know, the same true with jaguars and mountain lions, right? Jaguars don't really range into North America that much, but many people don't know mountain lions go all the way down to Patagonia and through a lot of South America, and they do broadly overlap with jaguars in their range. And in the more recent past, you would have also had Maracinonyx, like the so-called American cheetah, and various species of Smilodon, and I believe some other non-Smilodon.
Yeah,
Panthera atrox, right, exactly. Right. So in like southern North America, you could have had probably only one species of Smilodon. I don't think their range is actually documented to overlap. So let's be conservative. 5 species of big cat.
Yeah.
Right. This is not unexpected. And in science, when we have to explain a phenomenon, I think the important thing to keep in mind is that the phenomena you have to explain are ones that run counter to theory and observation. Like, if you have a general theory of how something works and you find an observation that doesn't match with that, like, that's a very important research question. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is, like, I don't want to put it too bluntly, but a kind of a misinformed understanding of how ecosystems work in the modern day that's then applied to the fossil record, with the fossil record treated as some exception to a rule that must be, like, brought to bear and reckoned with. And that's not what it is. Also, other dinosaur-bearing faunas. Again, dinosaur park formation. You get Gorgosaurus and Daspletosaurus. In Asia, we now know Alioramus and Tarbosaurus overlapped in the latest Cretaceous. You get this pattern everywhere. Multiple Spinosaurs in Britain. Carcharodontosaurus and what's it called? Spinosaurus, right? That one in North Africa, right? Obviously,
what's that weird thing there?
Right. Obviously, some differences, and animals, by definition, kind of don't occupy the same niche. But no species occupies its own niche with perfect efficiency that would lock out another species from competing with. And the fact that species that coexist might compete does not mean they don't coexist. Like, if you think about it, it's kind of almost contrary to the ideas of evolutionary theory to suggest that things only exist where they don't face competition.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure Ceratosaurus and juvenile Allosaurus and probably competed for food, and Ceratosaurus and Marsosaurus probably competed for food. That doesn't mean there could only be one of them. It's not Highlander. There cannot only be one. It's possible. It's fine. It's normal. And you certainly don't need to look at, the existence of Ceratosaurus does not need to be explained, nor does the coexistence of all the sauropods.
Nope.
Right. And you know who said this in a paper?
Whomst.
You and me, Alex.
Oh, we did,
Yeah.
in Kuru.
Yeah. Right. This is kind of one of the fun little takeaways from the Kurukula discovery is that Kuru was found at like the same locality as another species of dromaeosaur. It was found at the same locality as Sridevi. They were found on the same day. So they're pretty much as close to coming out of like, I mean, they basically come out of the same hole in the ground. They're obviously coexistent. They're definitely not the same species. Right? We suggest this is a general pattern and that this is important because if you find random dromaeosaur fossils in that formation, you don't know what they belong to unless you study the remains very closely. They could be a third thing.
The secret third thing.
Anyway, that's my spiel.
So we've all had a good chance to yell about this now. How are we feeling?
Feel great.
We have.
I feel great.
I feel fantastic.
Any final thoughts on the ecology stuff? It was probably, I don't know, this probably hunting like Dryosaurus and, small dinosaurs and some kind of mid-sized fauna there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost certainly.
probably.
There's also like an Allosaurus. It's not the only, I guess the other thing is, it's not the only Ceratosaur there, too. There is an Allosaurine, undescribed, but mentioned in the literature.
God, I forgot Allosaurus were.
And that's interesting because this is at a time in the world, by the late Jurassic, there's still a lot of contact between continents, and the divergence time where regions might be becoming more separate is not particularly advanced, so the faunas are very similar. So like in Africa and Europe, for example, right, you have fairly similar stegosaurs, sauropods, and as far as theropods go, apparently Allosaurs. There's a European Allosaurus species. There are several North American. There is apparently European Ceratosaurus material
There
too.
is, yeah.
Yes, there is. There's Portugal specimen.
Yes.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier.
And maybe African Ceratosaurus.
That I think is less
certain.
but things have been
Bigger asterisk.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
not
they're
out
megalosaurs.
not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, megalosaurs, and then Allosaurus, which is a early diverging theropod, but a ceratosaur, more closely related to Ceratosaurus than to Allosaurus, is present in Tanzania and also appears to be present in North America. So he's not alone, and maybe there were even more. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's at least that one. I think a skunk sprayed outside because it stinks and it's awful.
I'm sorry.
I can't believe it. Anyway, sorry. Hey, I mentioned Allosaurus, and that's also a ceratosaur. This is the natural transition point into our phylogeny discussion.
What's that?
It
Sorry.
is.
Phylogenum, sorry.
Oh, okay.
What's a
Your
phylogenum?
accent threw me off there.
Yeah, I used the word correctly. So, in this game, there are many theropod dinosaurs, and I'm not going to tell you what a theropod is because you probably know at this point. There are many, many early diverging theropods, and I'm going to mix this with a little what we call a history lesson.
Ooh.
So we've talked about
Ooh.
Coelophysis, and we've talked about Syntarsis. Not Syntarsis.
Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus, thank you. And we've talked about Cryolophosaurus. No, we haven't. We have talked about Dilophosaurus. And kind of in the early stages of figuring out what are dinosaur relationships, what are theropod relationships, emerging from the wreckage of the Carnosaur Silurosaur sorting bins, which was small theropod, big theropod. The phase 2 of that boss fight is the beginnings of the backbone of the theropod tree that we have today. And early on, kind of this earliest diverging group of theropods, with the exception of things like Herrerasaurus, were the ceratosaurs, and this included Coelophysis, Ceratosaurus, Dilophosaurus, these early theropods. Now, with more material and more characters and more time and more analytical power, this has separated out into a grade of early theropods, things like Coelophysis, Dilophosaurus, Cryolophosaurus, things we call neotheropods, and we get up into a group called Avirostra, or the bird head, the bird skull, bird snout, whatever you want to be. This group includes two major divisions: the Tetanurans, which is megalosaurs, allosaurs, coelurosaurs, birds, etc., and the Ceratosaurs, Ceratosauria. And this is cool because this split is probably happening in the late Triassic, maybe the very early Jurassic, maybe. And we do not have Tetanurans that old yet. We have early Jurassic. What I mean is like proper, like right after the split in the very, very, very early Jurassic. They have to be there because we have Ceratosaurs that are that old. There are a bunch of these early things on the Ceratosaur line, and there's some stuff that jumps around. Things like Sultria venator. Sarcolestes is in Ankylosaur.
I was going to say, I actually haven't even read that one.
Yeah, there's things like Sultria venator, Eoabellosaurus. The exact interrelationships of these guys are a little contentious, but proceeding into the Jurassic. So as we head into the middle Jurassic, there appears to be some major splits going on. One of the earliest one of these splits are Ceratosaurs. So Ceratosaurus, our friend here, is a member of this family, a proposed family called Ceratosauridae. This includes Ceratosaurus Geniodectes.
Yeah.
I think that's how you say, which is from the early Cretaceous, and it's a maxilla, and I think that's it.
I think
not a lot.
Too.
A Dennery too? Oh, hot dog. It's not a particularly wide, diverse group in what we have, but it's apparently around for a little while.
Is that Chilean one in there?
I'm actually. Which one do you mean?
Geniodectes is Argentinian. Is that what you're thinking of?
Let me see.
Maybe that's
I'm not sure.
I don't think there's anything else in here.
I thought that there was a different. Ignore me for a minute. I'm going to see if I can figure out what I was talking about.
Oh wow, that really does look like.
That's fine. Yeah. So and I think that's probably legit. It does look there's some similarity there. Anyway, that's it. There's not a lot to say about Ceratosauridae. It's a pretty small family. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to talk about the other side of this split, which is a little more interesting. And these are the Abelosauroids. And we've talked about Abelisaurids quite a bit in this video. Again, something that's kind of cool is that it's been proposed that the split here, we have two major groups of Abelisaurids, Noasaurids and Abelisaurids. So we have Noasaurids, or what are proposed to be Noasaurids, Elaphosaurs, like we mentioned earlier, that are again in like the pretty early late Jurassic. So there should be Abelisaurids around then too, but the record's not as robust. Eoabellosaurus.
I was thinking of Sultria venator. I'm sorry. I thought it was Chilean because I thought it was done in a series
It's
of
European.
Chilean. Yeah, no, I thought it was Chilean because it was made by there was a really, really gorgeous model of it that was made by the Wonder Artistic Models guy, and I thought it was for a show on Chilean dinosaurs. So I thought that there was a Chilean ceratosaur.
I see.
So that's what it was. Apologies, and also sorry for interrupting.
No,
Continue,
no.
please.
You're fine. Anyway, so that's the rough structure. That's not necessarily the only structure of the Ceratosaur tree, which I'll mention in a moment. But Noasaurs are cool. They're weird and convergent on Coelurosaurs, and some of them lose their teeth as adults, which no other tetrapods do.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah,
I think it might be the weirdest thing found in the fossil record.
I don't know what you're talking about.
For
My
dinosaurs,
granddad
at least.
also
For
had his
dinosaurs,
teeth when he
yeah.
grew up.
Yeah, and they develop a beak, but they still have the alveole. Like, right, if you told me that, my gut would be like,
No.
these are two different species you found. But then you can show in CT data that they still have the alveoli, but they're part. It's so cool. This is work that Joey Stiegler, a friend of mine,
Goofy animals.
did. at
And a
GW.
colleague of mine.
Yes. He's not the lead on that paper, but he's the guy I know, and he did a lot of the work. So, anyway. They're a cool group. And they get up right to the end. You're probably familiar with things like Masiacosaurus. Mashikosaurus, how do you say that?
Mashikosaurus.
I don't know why I thought the other one. Mashikosaurus.
Well, because it's spelled Masiacosaurus, but it's pronounced Mashikosaurus.
The last thing I'd like to say during Phylogenum time I guess because I did mention this in for Noasaurians, they are convergent in a lot of ways. They have Noasaurs and Ceratosaurs more generally actually have pretty airy skeletons, more than you might expect from a pretty early diverging group of theropods. In Noasaurs, this is pretty convergent, but also a paper recently just came out looking at the system of air sac distribution in a Ceratosaur, Majungasaurus, and a paravian dinosaur, a Rahonavis. And it turns out, which is confounding and makes everything more complicated, but kind of explains this in a nice way, that just because you have external pneumatic features on your skeleton, things like what we call pleurocoels, which are the holes carved in the sides of the vertebra, that does not necessarily translate to internal pneumatization of like the neural arch and centrum. So things like Majungasaurus will have these external openings, but have what we call apneumatic, or not full of hole, like neural spines and stuff on the same vertebra, which is cool. Whereas things like paravians will have incredibly internally pneumatized skeletons and sometimes not have obvious external correlates. Cool stuff.
It's
Back
so
to the last
weird.
thing I was going to say. It's so cool. It's good. It makes sense.
I like theropods until I hit Ceratosaurs. It not that I dislike them aesthetically, but they get scary and confusing. It's like
Well,
theropods' last gasp of being weird before they just kind of become normal animals.
Yep.
Well, what's cool about them, right? Like what you often see invoked is, and this kind of leads a little bit into the occult, but not too much. A lot of those noasaurs, those things that are like the convergent with Coelurosaurs, are from Gondwana, right, the southern hemisphere, and it would be tempting to be like, oh, they're evolving to be like this because there are no Coelurosaur, like the Coelurosaur fossil record in the southern hemisphere is not as rich, and that is true. It's almost certainly a sampling issue a little bit, because we have alvarezsaurs and birds, which means a fair amount of the Coelurosaur tree got there at some point in the Jurassic. But the issue, like the issue, or what's interesting about this, is that the group's evolving in the middle Jurassic, like they're diversifying at the same time Coelurosaurs are, and apparently in Asia, so like where also the oldest Coelurosaur fossils are. So they're fine. They're just hanging out with each other, and that I'd be confident in saying they definitely become less abundant in the northern hemisphere as we head into the Cretaceous.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much indisputable.
But they're apparently evolving in tandem and chilling.
Yeah. I think... Oh, sorry, Alex, did you have something?
Just to wrap up the phylogeny thing, I guess the only other kind of cool thing I would say about Ceratosaurids, the family Ceratosauridae, is that some more recent phylogenies actually get them as the sister group to Abelissaurids, instead of outside of both, which makes the split with Noasaurs older.
Oh.
And makes even worse ghost lineages.
Yeah.
Let's
Worst ghost
go.
lineages.
Because Eoabellosaurus is pretty old.
Yeah. Kind of makes sense.
But it kind of makes sense because they look like, if you looking at that maxilla for Geniodectes, it evokes a Belosaur a little bit.
Really does.
I could buy it. I think that group is Etriganosauria, which is named after the DC demon Etrigan, because the guy who names these clades is a big DC fan. Yeah, Etriganosauria. I am the demon Etrigan.
I've never heard of this before in my life.
Welcome to Ceratosaur world, sir.
Cool.
Etrigan is horns. That's the he's a demon with horns. I think
that's cool.
That's the connection.
I think it's interesting to note, just while we're kind of discussing the phylogeny, just that, like, Ceratosaurus, the first discovery of it, the holotype is decently complete. It was one of the better known theropods of the time, especially from North America, and it was named in 1884. And Marsh named it, and even back then was remarking, like, "Hey, this thing's weird. Like, this is strange compared to the other theropods I've seen." And to the point where he erected Ceratosauria as a family, just because he was like, "This thing's so weird, it should be its own family." Cope.
There were like 5 theropods, and he could see.
Cope was like, "No, this is just another Megalosaurus." But basically, no one else put it into
Copen
Megalosaurus,
seeds.
everyone was like, no, this is Ceratosaurus. And it's a weird thing. And Ceratosauria stuck around for a long time, and the name has been around forever. The exact composition of Ceratosauria has changed, and I think definitionally it's had to be changed at least once just because of the way things shook out historically with like historic taxonomy. But that's besides the point. That people like Ceratosaurus was found pretty early, is pretty complete, and has always been known as like, compared to its contemporaries and compared to a lot of other theropods, this thing is strange.
Sure.
And I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. It's until Dalton had said that, and I know this because I've had to read these papers for the Solaris project. I had completely forgotten that it wasn't Gilmore because I just immediately think of Gilmore's description.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, Gilmore discovered it in 1920.
Oh, no.
He did not. He wrote a description.
This is one of the ones that was a Yale specimen that got sent to the Smithsonian.
I bet that it being one of the shockingly complete and gorgeous specimens of, and also being kind of weird, like had something to do with the fact that like I find it interesting that Ceratosaurus kind of had like a really early peak in popularity.
Yeah.
That like it seemed like every other like stop motion show or something had Ceratosaurus in it, or like animation always had Ceratosaurus in it. Like it's in Fantasia, if memory serves.
Well, I mean, I think that connects to something either you or Dalton said earlier, which, like, more so than even Allosaurus, I think even retro, it does just feel like old monster. Like the horns are like, this is an ancient beast.
Yeah.
Yes.
From antediluvian times.
Yes. It really does, especially when you depict it like that. That like it's one of those dinosaurs that kind of loop us back around into the early discussion on just life appearance. It's one of those dinosaurs that like when you depict it retro, it looks really, really retro, and like just tweaking a couple things on it makes it look so modern. Like Stegosaurus, honestly. That like you can make Stegosaurus look like this lumbering Victorian, like, oh god, what's that one like newspaper clipping that was like,
Oh, the most wretched beast or whatever.
oh,
one that
yes,
hates
wretched
Stegosaurus.
beast. Yeah, it's just like it's like breaking news. I hate Stegosaurus. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I need to have a little printout of that in my lab somewhere. Because it makes me smile. That like you can make a Stegosaurus look like that, where it's like, oh, this thing's yes, the most grotesque animal.
A freak of nature.
Stegosaurus, who lived in Utah ages ago, is a freak of nature.
I like that.
That's called
It's like victimizing a person. Like they lived here a while ago and they suck.
I wonder if this guy was just hates Utah. Honestly, oh wait, this is based on explicitly on the Peabody reconstruction. Look at the number of Thagomisers.
Yeah,
It's got 4 on each side.
Oh, man. But yeah, so like if you look at modern depictions of Stegosaurus, it's like it goes from this is an antediluvian monster to, oh, this is an animal, albeit a weird one.
Boo, monster. No, you're right.
And Ceratosaurus strikes me as very similar. That we get everything from like the things that we see in like, yes, like 1 million years BC, where it's fighting a Triceratops. And accurately for that movie, because I knew what I was about in Jurassic World Evolution 1, gets it rocked. It is very funny. Oh man, the way that just very slight side tangent here for a second. I rewatched that scene before we filmed, and the way that they do the animal fights in those old like stop motion things, where it's like very obviously they're trying to draw out the fight because it's like that's what gets butts and seats is the scantily clad women and the dinosaurs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
But the way that they depict that animal dying is kind of heartbreaking. Is like it makes one wrong move and gets impaled so hard by the Triceratops, falls on its back, and then for a probably a solid like minute and a half, it's barely moving, but like struggling and wheezing to breathe as everyone's like walking around it.
But you know
It's
why
like,
they
look
did that, right? Okay. We're going to go back into the history of stop motion a little bit here. So, obviously these stop motion models were like real puppets that were made, right?
Yeah.
Like they're all real things. Some of them
Yeah.
still exist. I think a lot of Ray Harryhausen's in particular are at a museum in London.
I feel
which
like I'm
I've
not
always
going to
wanted
enjoy
to.
this.
What do you mean?
I feel like this is going to be sad, the reason for it.
No, it's not sad. It was a
Okay.
tech thing. They wanted to show off that they could do it. And so I believe it was Ray Harryhausen. It may have been his mentor, Willis O'Brien, but I think it was Ray Harryhausen invented a technique where while they were making the puppet, they would be able to implant an air bladder that they could access to expand and contract.
Hmm.
And it's why for pretty much all of his dinosaur fight things like this, he would always have a scene where you can see the animal like kind of laying down, laboring to breathe. Because it was like kind of a flex that you could do that with the stop motion puppet, that you could switch over to just like probably just video footage of it in front of whatever they matted out.
Yeah.
Just with them pumping air in and letting it release and pumping air in and letting it release.
Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
I'm rewatching the scene,
As am I.
What's this from?
and that is it's from the movie 1 Million Years BC. Just I'll put it in our Discord. I'll just give you the link. Here you go. Wow.
see-
Yeah, that's just video footage.
Right, that's what
Huh. Oh my god! And the composition shot where the guy's running behind it, and it shows how big it is. That must have just been forced perspective. That's actually
Well, wait,
that's,
which
that's
shot are you
really
talking
neat.
about?
The last one in the clip that I sent there.
Oh, let me see the one you sent.
That looks like forced perspective to me.
Wait. So which scene are you talking about? Like right at the end?
At the very end, at like the 416, 417 bit.
No, it's not forced perspective. It's composited. Because
Oh, really?
yeah, no, all of the stop motion was done. All of these puppet effects were done like in a studio after principal photography. So I mean, it's a little bit that they put it in the foreground and then met out the background, but I don't think it was actually on site. My
damn.
guess would be that it was composited in, but it usually winds up looking like that. It's also why you can see the whole animal kind of move because, like,
'Cause the-
clearly
Yeah.
they're just pumping air in, right?
Yeah,
so
it
cool.
looks like a rubber toy being with air pumped,
That's
and
awesome.
I mean that as a
Yeah.
compliment, actually, in this. Huh. Well, thank you,
That's
James.
so-
I had
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Sorry.
I had no idea.
I was a huge stop motion dork back in the day. They also do that because there's also an Allosaurus fight where the scantily
yeah, there
clad
is.
with women get their commune invaded by a large and not that large Allosaurus, which is actually much more correct in size for Ceratosaurus. Funny enough. Anyway, yeah, I love these old stop motion dinosaur movies.
Not to sound like a super cringe,
Like curmudgeon.
no, not curmudgeon. Not to sound like a super cringe like Dino Head online.
Do it.
I think it would be very cool to see someone do a stop motion dinosaur movie with updated dinosaur designs.
Oh my god!
That'd be fun.
Yes,
I
would
would like
love
to see
that.
that.
I would too.
genuinely, unironically, like a Phil Tippett prehistoric beast, but with modern.
Yeah. Now, if we're talking about the history of stop motion Ceratosaurus, which we appear to be, because this video has gone completely off the rails,
We did phylogeny, we did ecology, we did things.
we need to talk about The Animal World, which was a movie, it's half movie, half documentary. I think it was theatrically released, but it was supposed to be a documentary from 1956,
Oh yes,
which I believe was Ray Harryhausen's first dinosaur animation.
really. I have these. I think there's like a ViewMaster set of stills from.
There is. No, I'm sorry. It was It was Ray Harryhausen
Oh my
working
god!
with Willis O'Brien.
Yes.
And I
I've seen
mean,
this.
it's
I know
little
this, it's a
rough.
Linux system.
There's actually, it's funny. So they've got footage of old AMH dinosaur mounts at the beginning. They've got the old mount of 5027, beautifully silhouetted in black.
I really like, I found this clip of it on YouTube that begins with the most 50s sounding man I've ever heard saying, "Only the reptiles, descendants of the amphibians, conquered the land," and it's very funny.
He said reptile.
He said
Only
reptiles.
the
Jim Clark.
reptiles.
Only the reptiles.
Hold on, Dalton. Jesus Christ, my brain is jelly. James,
Yeah,
have you seen Ed Wood?
I have not.
Oh,
Oh,
I know.
it would.
That's a great movie.
I think you would get more out of it than like I did. I love it. It's one of my favorite movies.
I definitely need to watch it. Can we please, not to diminish conversation about Ed Wood, can we talk about the Brontosaurus picking up a caveman in his mouth and throwing
it's
him around?
very
We
fun.
can.
The very obvious like Barbie doll caveman.
It's so good.
So funny.
Is that in this the animal world?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
About a minute and 20 something seconds in.
Okay.
Well, if you look up if you type in the animal world, there's the prehistoric sequence is like number 1.
Yeah, I'm watching it on Facebook for some reason. Oh my god, that's incredible.
Dalton,
I know,
why are
right?
you watching this on Facebook?
That's just the link that came up when I googled it.
I mean, with any luck, that might actually fix your like Facebook short recommendations.
Anyway, so in the animal world, the Ceratosaurus fights a Stegosaurus, which is at least temporally appropriate.
Yay!
He gets body.
Oh wait, let me find it.
I like
He
the
does get got.
occasional switches to just obvious hand puppets.
It's really funny and honestly really charming.
Yeah.
It is.
It gives like
Whoa! The other one just like jumped in.
it gives like old school like Super Sentai stuff. It those insert shots remind me of Power Rangers so bad.
I do love when the other Ceratosaurus jumps in, though.
And the other Ceratosaurus with a steel chair.
Oh, and then they both fall off the cliff, and it's just just like completely unmoving puppets, just like toys that they threw off.
I do like that this Ceratosaurus manages to tear out the throat of the Stegosaurus, though.
Yeah, it feels weird that you
It's
see Stegosaurus
pretty
lose a
great.
fight in media.
Yeah, it's not often.
And
no,
like-
I don't think so. I think you can also see the wires holding up the other Ceratosaurus as it jumps in.
Like all of the mighty reptiles, when they fall, they go completely stiff, instant rigor mortis as soon as their feet leave the ground.
Oh no, Scott! I'm sorry. You need to put in a frame by frame of the other Ceratosaurus leaping in because it's so funny to just do it and see that it's completely motionless, just drifting through the air.
It's like at the end of Jaws 3D when
I'll
it's
have
just a
fun
still
playing with
image
this one.
of Jaws coming at the screen.
So I did want to say, because I tried to get a word in about this earlier, but we moved on quickly. If you want to see like fun little stop motion animations of more accurate modern dinosaurs, have you guys seen the YouTube channel of friend of the channel, Fred Wyman?
No.
I don't watch any YouTube channels that aren't our own out of
That's fair.
brand loyalty.
So Fred the Dinosaur Man has an honestly really, really great YouTube channel that he uploads to occasionally. But he's had this series going for a while called Minisaurs that are these little
Oh, I have seen these.
claymation
Yeah, it's adorable.
stop motion animations, and the sense of like comedic timing and stuff is so good in these. They're very, very well done. Really, really charming ones. Especially the little Christmas episode that he did. Stunning. It's very good and very, very sweet.
These are
Well,
very cute.
I would really highly recommend watching the one that he put out most recently, Tough Diet. That's like a T-Rex. It's only a minute long. It's a T-Rex surveying the food options in the Hell Creek and thinking better. It's pretty great.
I'm really. This has sent me just so far down a rabbit hole. I am now reminded of a movie or a short film I used to watch a lot on YouTube that, to make me feel old, was released 17 years ago.
Let's
Jesus
go.
Christ. I don't want to hear that.
called Dino Dreams, which I'm going to send here in chat.
Oh, please.
It was it's a cute little video. It's got 44,000 views, which I'm actually kind of surprised at how low it is, given how long it's been around. But the making of this movie video has 140,000 views because it's the guy explaining how he made the stop motion puppets. And it's like, listen, it's definitely rough. It's like home digital video editing 17 years ago. That was a very different era. It's very low res and everything. But I remember being just like flabbergasted that a guy could do this without like a major studio thing. And I think this was the particular video that made me start like experimenting with videography and everything as a kid. It was very, very influential for me, I guess.
I like that bird pup, like the
Wow.
bird foot puppet.
Oh
the
my
first
gosh.
Raucus is actually not bad.
Oh, the foot puppet. Wow, this sucks. No, I'm kidding. It's very cool.
The kindly Alex.
The foot puppet's not great.
No, I like the foot puppet. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's certainly a home video kind of thing, but
no, that's neat.
yeah. Well, yeah, I
Wow.
mean, it's the kind of thing. I think everybody needs this a little bit in terms of like finding a passion for a hobby. Is like the thing, especially for something that's so professionalized now. Like, I feel like everybody's got to have a moment where you realize, oh wait, I can do this, and it can be not incredibly dumb.
Oh no,
You know what I mean?
it's
Clearly, this is not as good as a major Hollywood production.
oh yeah,
It's
it's
not
every once in a
embarrassing that he
while
made it.
one
No.
of those projects that goes around. There's just like literally one dude did this by himself. It's
In a
did it in
cave.
a cave with a box of scraps, sort of things. When it's just like, oh my god, you can just do this. It's one of the things that I always find interesting about like solo author video games and stuff. Of just like Stardew Valley is entirely
Yeah.
one dude, or
Wait, really?
Yeah. One.
yeah,
I
whole
didn't know
thing.
that. That's cool.
Whole
That's
thing.
wild.
One guy. One of the ones that I've always also thought is one of the like raddest pieces of animation I've seen in a while. This is going to be a huge nerd card on here. Have you guys seen this is so off topic. We should rate this so quickly.
We must.
Have you seen there's a Warhammer 40K animation called Astartes?
I think I have, yeah.
I don't think
The
I have.
The whole thing is made by one dude, and it's some of the coolest CGI animation I've ever seen. Once we're done, I'll send it because I don't want to send it while we're recording. Because holy, I've never seen like gunfire have that sort of impact. It's so rad.
Cool.
Even if you're not a 40K fan, it's dope. It's
Huh.
well, I think we've been substantially detoured.
Us?
Never.
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
Well, shall we?
The skeleton crew?
That was
Oh, that bit's so stupid. Why do we love it?
simultaneously. Shall we take this horned man to the species
I think
viewer?
we shall.
Sure. I do like how we barely talked about the horns. We like mentioned it's like, yeah, they look like they're bone in the game. They'd be keratin.
Yeah, it's got 3 horns. There's one on the nose and
Yeah, I
2 on
mean,
the
that's...
eyes.
Now, something actually I failed to mention in the Phylogenum that, as we look at it in the species viewer, I can mention. So there's some a little more educational content in this video.
Mhm.
Is that if you'll notice on the model of this animal, it has 4 fingies,
Yes, it does.
and they're short and horrid and stubby. And in a game where sometimes the finger, like I don't think Herrerasaurus has an appropriate finger count. The Dilophosaurus definitely doesn't. This is a Ceratosaurus ant. They have weird, short
Yeah,
little
they got
hands,
creepy
even early on in Ceratosaurus. And this is only going to become more extreme in the group. Noasaurs,
Thank you.
bless you, friend. Noasaurs and Abelisaurs will only make this more extreme. Their forelimbs become more reduced, and their hands become ugly and scary. In fact, there was a paper published years ago when Lumosaurus was initially described. The paper that initially described Lumosaurus was not about its face and how it somehow lost its teeth. It's about its hand, because it was so weird that it was interpreted as evidence of like a frame shift event. This is no longer considered to be the case, even by the original authors. They're like, yeah, just Ceratosaurs are weird. But it's like got horrible, like the unguals are like horrible rods. It's a monster. Ceratosaur hands are monstrous. They're very clearly like things that are not being. I don't want to. The selective pressures that are on a normal forelimb are obviously taking a bit of a vacation. They're absentee parenting here, because these forearms are getting away with a little more than they usually should.
These forelimbs have rich parents.
Yeah, and it's well reflected here.
Yeah. Also well reflected, while we're talking about science and before we get to the viewer, is that it has osteoderms running down the back.
Yes!
Which Ceratosaurus had. The holotype had osteoderms preserved in place on some of the vertebrae. It's not in a complete series, but they are preserved. I believe on the neck, they are kind of just directly on top of the bone, but more towards the back of the animal, either the posterior dorsals or the tail. The osteoderms are preserved like 3/4 of an inch or so above the bones in the rock, which Gilmore at least thought maybe that's just the place they were in life. Like that represents the skin in between the bone, all that tissue, which I buy, and that maybe on the neck it kind of decayed or desiccated or something. It had at least one row of osteoderms running down the back, and apparently there are more osteoderms that were associated with it that they don't know where in the body they came from. If I have the paper pulled up, I might have it pulled up to that. Yes, that there were other dermal ossifications is shown by the presence of a small skin plate found with the bones of this skeleton. It had been freed from the matrix when it came into my hands, so there's no evidence as to its probable position in the skin. It is a relatively small subquadrangular plate of bone. And there were more osteoderms found, I believe, with the Cleveland Lloyd specimen as well. So we definitely know it had osteoderms, certainly running down the back and probably elsewhere on the body too.
Which is a cool thing to know.
Yeah.
And it's like the only theropod that has them.
Yeah, because I remember like thinking a while ago that it was just like, oh yeah, well it makes sense that like that Carnotaurus would have them because Ceratosaurus does, and it's a Ceratosaur, but then Carnotaurus doesn't have osteoderms. They're feature scales.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah. It's a common mistake that a lot of people make, is that Carnotaurus had osteoderms. Because, wow, they look like it.
Yeah, but also, like, that wasn't really confirmed until very recently, too.
No, that was,
that they were feature scales.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah, that was
like
recent,
the last couple of years.
Oh, good point.
No, it's
so, yeah.
It's why this is one of, like, there are a few people who the viewers of our channel are probably familiar with my opinions on feathering theropods, which is all of them. Give it to all of them, even a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But like this is one where I'm like, if you don't want to do any, I totally get it. They have osteoderms. That's weird. Yeah, Noasaurs put them on them, but yeah, once you get up into like the larger Ceratosaurs, I don't know, maybe sparingly. I don't know anything that has osteoderms and feathers.
No, it's a weird.
I know things have osteoderms and fur.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Although I don't know, are those like the same kind of? Are they just also bone like an osteoderm?
Yeah.
What are you
talking about? Ground sloths, right?
I'm talking about ground sloths. Yes.
Yeah. I just don't know what the composition of their osteoderms are like.
Mm-hmm.
But that's cool.
I'm not. Yeah, I don't know much about their osteoderms.
I don't either.
They look like
theirs are
birdshot.
like. They're also certainly like. I don't think those are expected to have been visible externally. Like they're completely skin.
No, they look like genuinely. When I say that they kind of like they look like birdshot or buckshot. It really does look like the thing got peppered with it. Like they're like pea gravel.
Yeah.
Like it's.
And they're like little hex. It's like Heroscape.
Yeah, they're like very fragmentary, which is also kind of reminds me a bit of the construction of like armadillo, which I mean makes sense because they're all xenarthropods.
Mm-hmm. I remember the first time I saw them, I assumed it was like a fragment from a glyptodon or something.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
but even like armadillo osteoderms are like kind of pebbly.
Yeah. I remember one time at Michigan, when I was helping with the museum move, I found what must have been a punishment, which was a box like this big that was, and like 2 inches tall, that was full to the brim of ground sloth osteoderms. Every single one of them was hand labeled with a number.
Oh,
Oy.
wow.
And I was like, someone got on someone's bad side.
Someone got yelled at. Guess who got yelled at?
You are labeling every one of these pebbles.
They're one of the best mammals, in my
Ground
humble
sloths?
opinion.
They're
Yeah.
cool.
And I mean, like, not to talk about the lost diversity of the past, but there were like 30 species of them in North America when they went extinct.
yeah.
Or at least north of 10. I don't know how many.
Oh, no, there are
15,
tons.
20?
There are-
Yeah.
And there are like 4 or 5 different like subfamilies. Like there's an entire fauna of I guess West Indian or Caribbean ground sloths that are just like endemic there. No, it is a depauperate fauna here today.
And
Right.
of course, we can't not mention the marine one.
Well, that's kind of what I thought that's what Alex was getting at, but no, there were also terrestrial, like Caribbean ground sloths.
Yeah, no, the marine ones are from Chile.
Yeah.
I think they're from the Pacific.
From the name of it is very famous, but I can't think of
It's
it.
I know what
the
you're thinking of.
Pisco,
Yes,
Pisco Formation.
Shares.
I saw a tweet about that recently that I liked a lot, but it basically said the loss of ground sloths in North America could be compared to like the loss of bovids from Africa,
Yeah,
like in terms of just
Yeah.
like you're losing a complete clade that is incredibly important in ecosystem construction, and it's just gone.
You keep like 2 species of weird goat that live in the woods.
yeah.
Right,
Those are your tree sloths.
right. And they're dumb and they're slow and they grow algae because they move so.
And are somehow the only ones that made
Yeah.
it.
People don't routinely hunt
If
them.
I move so slowly.
Kings, I respect it.
James, do you remember in this interminable video, James, as we just continue to
talk.
stumble
Just keep
forward,
Baffling Christendom, but continuing to record.
I'm
we have had like 4 chances to end this video.
Soon.
James, do you remember I think we mentioned this when we went to the zoo. Ben's stories of working in the aquarium with a sloth that would try to kill him like every day.
I don't believe that. I don't believe this.
So what it would do was it was a bastard of an animal according to him, and what it would do is it would be like hanging on a vine like sloths are wont to do, and it would basically just kind of like take one hand and like let go and like turn its wrist around like this, and then just let go with the other hand and swing like a pendulum claw first at people.
That's so stupid.
Oh, I love that.
Said
It was
Get
so
good.
funny. I remember, he told us that he was like, I used to work at an aquarium, and like most of the animals were pretty chill, and the only one that was a bastard was a sloth, and it was
Was it-
the worst.
was it trying to kill itself?
I think it was trying to kill him.
Great creatures.
That's pretty funny. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I guess let's rank
Can we
Ceratosaurus.
Yeah, let's rank it. I suppose we rank
Yeah.
it now.
I think it's time for everyone to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's time for me to go to bed.
Ooh.
In fact, instead of ranking the animal, I'm going to go to bed.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Good night.
No. We have Amelia's ranking,
Yes, we do.
which
I'm
I think
scrolling to
was,
find it right now. It was
I don't
harsh.
know what I-
wasn't it just the phrase D, I hate it?
I think it was. D. I hate it.
That's
Well,
pretty
actually,
good.
like-
Brevity
Dalton,
is the source of wit.
By the way, the color combo that I think is the prettiest on this guy
do you
is Yukon River and Pulcrana.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
That?
Mm.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Are you just trying to influence the rank down?
What? Or Svalbard. I like the dark color with the redder highlight on the
See,
face.
I really like the body designs that almost feel like episematism, where they've got like really, really bold stripes and colors.
Really? Oh, this is
can
just
see that.
this is just a personal
I
preference.
think this is
case,
my favorite
like
that I've
thing.
encountered.
Yeah, like I love
Really?
this. Yeah.
Well, remember, there's no personal preference. There's only
There's only
correct.
objective truth here at the skeleton.
Mm.
All right. So Amelia hates it. I got to be honest with you. I don't. I kind of like him. He's not accurate. That's for sure. And it's not really what Ceratosaurus looks like, but something about the model, I think it's all the skin folds and ugliness kind of gives it some sense of verisimilitude to me. I feel like I'm looking at a real thing, even if it's not a real Ceratosaurus. The only thing I don't like is that it feels like it has an underbite, which looks a little stupid. But I also kind of feel like some theropods would have looked like that, like to have enough space for the teeth in the front of the snout. Like, I don't know. I don't hate it. I don't know if I love it. I'm going to give this a high B.
Okay.
Mm. It's rough. Like I want to be mean, but I also want to be nice to it because I love Ceratosaurus, but so like I want to give it a higher grade because like I'm happy that it's here, but I want to give it a lower grade because I want it to look nicer. God, I think I will put to bed the two halves of me that are at war with this and give it a C. Just right smack dab in the middle. It could be worse. It could be way better. But like it's Ceratosaurus. Like even some of the like even the skin that I like is really grasping at straws with it. I want everything to be brighter. I want it to really show off the horns. I want it to have like really like have 3 of them and have that be a prominent feature of it. I want it to look a little goofier and a little more different. Like it really does feel like a slightly modernized retro Ceratosaurus, and that throws it for me. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a C.
That's fair.
There have been some compelling. I came into this, I will concede, with hate in my heart. Because I think I remembered this design being worse. Must have been thinking about the film.
The film one's bad. The Camp Cretaceous one also
really bad,
heinous.
But this, I don't hate this. I don't love it. It's again, I like Ceratosaurs, and we have so few of them, and it's a shame that it doesn't do more to evoke how fun we like the long torso, the bigger horns. I think I will give this a high C. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
It's fine. I give it a high C. I like the hands though. I like there are parts of it and the osteoderms. What is in C? What's the highest thing in C right now?
The highest thing that we have in C right now is Dimetrodon.
I don't like this as much as that. Yeah, this is a high C.
That's odd.
Okay.
I love the Dimetrodon. The Dimetrodon. Okay. What's the second thing in C? Because that's not a good proxy.
Paleontologists.
Oh, this is the highest of C's for me.
That's tricky because I like this more than Dimetrodon. I think.
I know, but I think my feelings on that are not particularly right, not representative.
I don't mind the Dimetrodon, but I don't love it. I think I like this more. This is tricky. This is hard because I, like Alex, also came in expecting to really hate this because I don't like the design of the movie, and this improves on it just enough to like make me reconsider. and like I don't hate it. I like Alex. I like the arms. I'm torn because the head's better than the movie, but it's still not great. The horns are left to squalor, but many of the color patterns are nice. The issue is that this does do what I like when the designs do, which it evokes the idea of the animal. Like this evokes the idea of Ceratosaurus well enough to make me think about Ceratosaurus, and I like Ceratosaurus a lot. And I'm torn because I think some of the goodwill I'm feeling towards the design is just because it's making me think of something I like, despite the fact that it's not representing it tremendously well. I'm just like in the idea of Ceratosaurus, so I'm happy. Which is what makes me kind of want to put it in B. But and the other thing is that this is another one of the models that it's like I was talking about, I think last week with Pro Ceratosaurus, or it may have been earlier, where it just feels like some of the models got some more textural love than the others, and this seems like one of those. Like this is like really quite nice to look at. Like if you divorce yourself from what it's supposed to be at all and just like look at it as an object, like I think it's been made well. Which also kind of elevates it for me, and I just kind of gives me some pre-built in goodwill. I think I'm gonna have to give this like the lowest of B's. No, the high C. I need to be a bit more thoughtful with my critiques. I'm gonna do C.
Okay, so I think with our rankings here, that probably leaves it at a C.
Yes.
D.
What did we all give it?
It was
D, B.
It was 3 C's, a D, and a B. Yeah, that's a C.
Yeah, that's a C.
I think
Absolutely.
Amelia would have softened on it seeing
I
it.
do too.
I think so as well.
Because it's much better than the movie version. And even
so
better than the first game.
Like, she always ranks like the ugly, wobbly weirdo guys highly. She would have liked this. Well, no, I mean it's a difference in taste that I think is very apparent in the videos. Like she likes the little gremlins, and I don't like.
I think it should get pulled up higher than where it is currently.
Higher than where it is. All right, where do we think? Well, we said high C, so like, it's definitely. I personally like it way more than
I do too.
Jurassic World.
I think it should be higher
Deinonychus or Velociraptor, and you know what? I'm putting this guy up here with Dimetrodon. Personally.
I'm cool with that.
Bruh.
Yeah, 100%. And Amelia isn't here to say no. So
I agree with Alex. I think she would have actually liked it more than she said in her ranking, but that's all we got.
Amelia, tell us in the comments because we won't talk to you. No, well,
everybody, it's that time. Where we're going to spin the wheel. Now, you may notice that we're all wearing different clothes, and I ask you not to look too far behind the arch, or not behind the arch, behind the curtain. That's the phrase from The Wizard of Oz.
I thought this was a weird esoteric reference to something I didn't know. Pay no attention to the paleontologist behind the curtain.
There was
Our
an
audience
old
is
term
8. No one knows what this movie is.
There's an old term used, the Proscenium Arch. You don't want to look behind it. That's where the illusion from what you're seeing on stage or in the movie theater breaks down. That's, I think, what I was channeling, but then I also just started doing the line from Wizard of Oz. Anyway, none of our audience was born before the year 2000, I don't think, and they probably won't get either of those references. But if you do, congratulations. But we had to change our clothes because we felt like it. And sometimes you get uncomfortable in your t-shirt and your pajama pants, so you put on a suit jacket and a tight button-down shirt and a nice pair of jeans with a belt that's a little bit tight. And
it's literally the Naked
then you
Gun
sit back
joke.
down. It is, and then you spin a wheel. So I think we should spin the wheel. I've spin the wheel. Just spin it, spin it.
It's time.
I'm in a tailspin. I'm in a flat spin.
Well, we're going to be in a wheel spin when we spin.
that
wheel.
Woo,
Oh my god, it's going so fast.
All right.
Yippee! Wahoo!
Wahoo!
And
Oh, look at that!
Man,
there we go.
Lystrosaurus.
Yay.
Big Bang. Let's
Time
do
to
it.
Wash our mouths
Let's
out.
do Lystrosaurus.
oh god, it's so gross. It's so cute. It's so weird. I love it. Pay no
Behold.
attention that Chronosaurus
Well,
is still on
hold
there.
on now.
Ignore that.
Don't offer. Yes, don't perceive the animal that it almost landed on, please.
If you think that you saw
Um,
Chronosaurus on the wheel, no, you didn't.
No, you did not. No. There. And I guess with that, we need to get into reading the patron credits, obviously. And so I've gotten the sudden desire to change back into my old clothes. And so
have I.
I'm going to go do that, and we're
As
all going to
have
go
I.
change into the outfits
I'm
that
not.
we were wearing just a few minutes ago.
All right, well, now you got to make sure.
Watch
Statistically,
me
I'm sure
be
one of us
in-
is wearing the same thing.
That's what I was saying.
yeah.
I was just like, I wonder if I'm just wearing the same shirt.
Could be.
That'd be
Here's
the
some
funniest fucking thing.
Here's some
Yeah.
proof of continuity.
Well, yeah, because you do really have that look about you of the kind of guy who would take we are all going to go change our clothes off screen compact with your friends, and then not change your clothes off screen and stay in the same outfit and hope we won't notice.
Many people are saying
I've always
this.
suspected
Many
this
people are
about
saying
you.
this.
Yeah, your dad says it too. We text about that sometimes.
That's weird. That's a
We
weird thing to
talk
say.
about
Why'd you
this
say that?
aspect. It's just sometimes he's like, James, I don't know. If you're ever recording a video and you decide we're all going to change our clothes off screen and then
And
come
then
back
change
wearing
them back.
different clothes, I don't think Scott's going to do it. Many such cases. Anyway, we're gonna go change our clothes, and then when we come back after changing our clothes again, we'll read the patron credits.
Is everybody feeling tired?
Yes, we are, but I forgot a thing that I have to do because some people pay us to make videos. So that's the end of the video. Thank Christ. I don't know what happened here. Ceratosaurus video. Whatever happened there? We have patrons, and we are very appreciative for those patrons because I still kind of can't believe that we got onto a call every week and we goof around for a little while, and apparently what we do has enough educational or humorous value that many people like to support what we do.
Thank you.
And we're tremendous. Yes, thank you. We're tremendously grateful
Very
because
much so.
given the demands on our schedules as both scientists and content creators, there's simply no way we could really keep this going without the support that we get from all of you. So thank you all very much. Our most generous patrons at our Gorgosaurus tier on Patreon and higher get a spoken shout out at the end of every video, in addition to their name in the scrolling credits. And so I want to take this opportunity to thank Benjamin Siepser, nickname Philip Fico, Christopher Bellis Jones, Aaron Anderson, Adam Molos, Blacklight Virus, Camphibia, Dan O'Kyrus, Dino Dom, King Zashu, Max Ironpaw, original username Pythonic, Ryan Wants to Die, Swamp Ape Science, Wanderer, and Wheat.
Thank you.
I must exhort Ryan, please don't
Do not do this.
Life is worth living. It's you only get to be on this earth for a little while. So thank you all so much. Thank you to all of our patrons who have their names scrolling in the credits right now. Each and every one of you contributes something really valuable to our effort to keep this channel going and continue making videos, making them as good as they can be, and hopefully to diversify our content coming pretty soon. So thank you all very, very much. We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye
Bye bye.
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 It's a good video.
Good thing you don't have to edit it, Scott. I'll be editing this one. Yeah.
Really?
Did you forget to record?
I sure did. I started I made a note. I started recording during the white-tailed deer talk, which was like an hour in. I was just like, oh, I better check that. Oh, I'm stupid.
Oh
Dalton!
We're cutting all the what?
The Nimchinsky.
no! Which we shouldn't, because that's great.
Nim.
Nim Chimsky.
Me orange. Me orange. Give me.
Orange.
Wait, can we make this to the Bill Nye song? Can we go nim, 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 and then just really quickly say give me orange.
Give me orange. Me orange. Give you.
I'm feeling.
We need to thank our patrons. They pay money for this.